Hey there, BookTube. Long time no see. I've been gone for about 10 months and haven't produced a single video during that time. I decided to do just a quick, hopefully quick, I'm thinking about making this like 8 minutes long or so, review of a book I just read, Nos4a2, mostly because I plan to be making videos in the next month, and so this is kind of a jump in for me. I was going to do a longer video talking about this as well as thoughts about what I might be reading next month. I started making that and then I realized I was just mumbling so much. I didn't have a clear idea of what I'm planning to read, and really TBR doesn't work for me anyways because I've talked about this in the past. I'm not good with reading multiple books at a time. I tend to start one thing and then want to read another thing and then want to read another thing. And so I actually have to put in the, I guess, focus and the determination to read what I'm reading. Otherwise, I will end up with 70 books that I have started, enjoyed, but not finished. Why? Because. Uh, and I'm not going to do that this month. I'm going to read a lot, but I am not going to do that. I do have some ideas of what I want to read, but I'm not going to do a TBR. I'll just talk about them as I come, and then hopefully at the end of the month I can show a big stack of books that I've read and have like, ooh yeah, that's all my thoughts on them. But right now I'm just going to talk about the book I read, which is Nos4a2, Nos4a2 by Joe Hill, son of Stephen King, for those who don't know. It is a horror, kind of a horror fantasy almost. Very fantastical story. It follows Vic McQueen, who you kind of go from her early life, like 10 or so, to I'd say mid 30s. So might be a little bit older than that actually. Uh, so kind of a Bildungsroman, honestly, uh, that follows her, and she has a magical power. She is able to um, create a bridge called the Shorter Way Bridge from her childhood that through going through her own mind she is able to cross from one space to another in search of lost things. And there are other characters in the story with weird magical powers. There's Maggie McVeigh, who has the ability to read Scrabble tiles, and she gains clairvoyant insights into information she is looking for. And there is Charles Minsk, who is the villain, the main villain of the book, a kind of vampiric entity who sucks the vitality out of children and leaves them kind of vampiric in their own ways. And he takes them to a place in his mind called Christmas Land. Uh, Things I really liked a lot of the characters, particularly Vic McQueen. You follow her from very young age when she's just the brat to her dad and she is living in a dysfunctional household to when she has her own uh, family, a not husband, but a man she lives with, and a son. Uh, but you also follow all of her major downs in life. She has mental illness problems. She uh, is in and out of an asylum. Whole bunch of bad things. Uh, I will note that's about as far that I'm going to go in terms of spoilers. Uh, and that all happens relatively early on, like about the third of the book. Um, I liked some of the other characters too. I really liked Maggie McFay. Uh, kind of a weird, quirky character, but also shows the dark side of that quirkiness and the dark side of having these powers, which you also see in the main character. And I also really liked the villain, Charles Mansk, particularly because first of all, he does a really good job at being creepy, but also because he is more than just a stereotypical monster figure. He is definitely, Dracula, but he is also not Dracula. He is doing as Dracula does in a sense, but he isn't just about like world conquest and dominating his prey and all that. He has a different motive, which I don't really want to go into because that is kind of spoiler that you get to the very end. But it was refreshing because throughout the entire story, you're kind of going back and forth about what his motives actually are. At least I was. You also have Lou Carmody and Wayne Carmody, especially Bruce Wayne Carmody. Lou is the father. The uh, boyfriend, I'll say, of Vic, and Wayne is their child. I really liked Wayne, a very smart kid character. Lou Carmody was okay. Um, he very much has kind of the author insert energy. He is the kind of fat, overweight, lovable, nerdy counterculture character who rides around on a Triumph bike, which the author rides around on a Triumph bike. I'm not saying he's a useless character. He just, to me, he felt like he was just an author insert. And he didn't really appeal to me as much as like Vic and Maggie. Uh, you also have an FBI agent who's on the case who's just kind of there. And then there is Bing. There are two main villains to the story, Charles Mansk and Bing. Bing is known as the gas mask man because he uses tanks of cephalorahane, I think is how you pronounce it, to gas his victims and make them do what he wants. He is not an interesting character to me. I thought his motive was kind of fucked up. He's like just kind of made to be like depraved even from the beginning, and he is really depraved. It's almost like they just wanted to like force a kind of rapey character in the book, and I think you could have done without that particular character and could have just had, you know, Charles Mansk, honestly. Uh, Someone compares him to the Renfield to Charles Manx's Dracula, but I don't think the character really needed a Renfield. He worked fine on his own. So that would be one of my issues with the book was being, but that also gets into one of my other issues, is that I feel like the book was a little bit too long. I think the book itself is 687 pages long, not counting acknowledgments, and there's a little thing at the end called a note on type, which I recommend if anyone reads this that they read that very ending. So right to the acknowledgments, there's going to be a little thing at the very end called note on type. Read that. I won't go into why, but just read that. The book was too long though. I think, although it gives you time to settle with the character Vic, a lot of that time is not spent with Vic. It is spent in the heads of other characters. Maggie, Wayne, Lou, Manx, Bing, another random dude who isn't only in the book for a very short amount of time, another random dude who's only in the book for a very short period of time, the FBI agent. Some of them are, I think, necessary. I think the Maggie scenes are pretty good. I think the scenes with Manx are good, and with Lou and Wayne. But, like, you don't need the ones with the FBI agent, in my opinion. And you really don't need the ones with, like, Um, with like being, again, I think you could have cut his character from the book. I think you probably could have willed this down to maybe 500 pages, and it wouldn't have lost any of its emotional depth or any of its creepiness, which I might add as another benefit of this book. It is definitely very creepy, and I really liked the kind of atmosphere and the setting, the imagery, very imaginative, surrealistic, the Christmassy, creepy themes, uh, ornaments hanging from from Christmas trees, and like dark, otherworldly Christmas land filled with snow. A lot of weird imagery that I really enjoyed. That again, I don't want to give too much away of it because it's really exciting to read those parts. Um, I think the book had a lot of emotional depth to it that I was not expecting. A lot of feelings of loss that permeates the entire book. Loss of innocence, loss of childhood, loss of individual people. There's a lot of loss in this book. It's definitely a very tragic read, tragically beautiful. Um, I do think it is worthwhile. I'd probably give it like maybe 3.5 stars out of 5 if I was to rate it. Um, Mostly because I think the Bing character is too forced. I think there's some the parts of the ending are a little bit too forced. I think, and it's too long. If you would whittle it down to just being a story that focuses on Vic and Vic's relationship uh, with Lou, with Wayne, with her parents, and with her trying to defeat this bad guy, I think it could have been a lot better, but instead it tried to make it a little bit too big, I guess, for the parameters of the story. Um, that kind of sums up my thoughts on it, though. I do plan to do more videos here soon about the upcoming Victober, about other upcoming BookTube events, and about just stuff I'm reading. But I wanted to make this one first, just to get back into it. And anyways, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful October. Bye.